In this episode, we're going to be making a massive, movie-quality model ship, using real Hollywood model-making tools, techniques, and details. But we have a deadline and have to get it done before we go to England to give it to Chris in person. Will we make it in time? Well, nothing I can do now. Or will mistakes, problems, and tragedy be the end of it all?
I kind of just want to give up at this point.
Better stay tuned. This is your Geek Fix.
Hi, I'm Chris Barnardo. I'm the co-founder of the Wand Company. I did a magic wand that you wave around to control things, sonic screwdriver, pip-boy, pokeballs, that kind of thing. And now I've written a book.
I've known Chris for about 7 years now, and many years before that, he wrote a book. And then a couple of years ago, we were on a trip to LA, and he let me read it. It was all about this team of 3 unlikely heroes who travel on a rescue mission to the edge of space, only to find themselves involved in a galaxy-shaping conspiracy that could unleash one of the most dangerous creations ever conceived. It has spaceships, robots, artificial intelligence, noir, mystery, and a battle of fate versus free will. And I told him I thought he should publish it. So that very same day, we went bowling. Oh, there it is! And now, years later, after a lot of work, it's finished. It's called Advances in the Art of Being, and by the time you see this video, it'll be available to read in book form or listen to in audio. Now, naturally, because Chris is a close friend, I wanted to give him something to celebrate, but what do you give to the guy who makes all the coolest things that you own? I was actually really struggling with it, and then Chris sent me this. This is the Orca, a retired military vessel that's been repurposed for rescue and recovery, and in the book, it is 2 miles long. And as the name suggests, it's in the shape of a whale with a giant mouth for docking ships inside. And the second I saw it, I thought, now that'd be cool to make. I also thought it'd be cool to present it to Chris like a model ship to a captain with a base and a plaque. But more than anything, I want this to be good enough to film. Now, we did do a scratch build with dollar store items back in the day, where we made a UFO and even made a short Close Encounters type film with it. But I want this to be good enough that it could be used in a real film, like using real movie model making techniques. And because of that, I think this will be the biggest project that I've ever made. But I also have a deadline. I am planning to go out and visit Chris in person really soon, and so I would like to be able to take this with me to give it to him in person. But that also means that I don't have a lot of time to do it. So we better get started, and the first thing that I want to do is create the model. I plan to 3D print the general body first before I go in and do all my details. So that means I'm going to have to create a 3D model, and to do that, I need to follow my rule. I have this rule that I won't use anything that's too expensive or unreasonable to use, and so for that reason, I'm going to use the most basic 3D program there is, and that is Tinkercad. Tinkercad is free, and there's not a lot to know to use it. Use basic shapes like the square. When I click on it, I can stretch it, make it taller or smaller, move it around. I can make it more round or smooth. I can put 2 shapes together, unite them, and they become one shape. Then we can take another shape, like this ball, and by making it a hole, and then uniting it with my other shapes, the ball becomes cut out of the shape. And that's really all you need to know to make things in Tinkercad. Now, I only have one angle of the ship, so I'm going to use my imagination to fill in the rest. I want something that looks military and naval while also being organic and alien. And there's a lot of ships from other movies to pull from. But in the book, they refer to the Orca as a space-worthy piece of junk. And so I immediately thought of the Millennium Falcon. Something that looks modified or pieced together. So I made the front of the ship smooth, like in the picture, but the back reminded me of an old blimp, and I decided to lean into that. So I used fewer steps and larger polygons, and in the end, I felt pretty good about the body of the ship. I designed this cool landing bay with all sorts of details, but I also wanted something to be inside. After all, a landing bay needs ships, right? In the book, the crew has 3 low loaders, which are like moving vehicles or vans in space. This is the picture that Chris sent me, and so again, I used my imagination to fill in whatever I couldn't see. One problem with complex designs in Tinkercad is that it eventually can't handle it, and it becomes hard to export. So exporting complex parts and then importing them into a new work area will help make complex designs like this easy. Now, like I said earlier, I want to have a base for this, but I also want to be able to have the ship floating above it. So I bought some of these 1/4-inch clear dowels, and that meant that I had to design spots for those dowels to stick into the ship. So I made sure to design the model with holes for the dowels, even though I don't have my base designed yet. It looks pretty good, basically like the picture. Now all I have to do is print it, but the problem is this model is supposed to be 2 miles long, and naturally when I am making it, I'm going to be making it about 2 feet long, so a foot for each mile. But that's still about 3 times too big for my printer. So before I can export it for printing, I'll need to cut it into smaller parts. And that's what I did. The ship will have to be printed in 6 parts, plus all the parts for the interior. I then exported each part and took it into the slicing program. Which program? Why, Orca, of course. Orca is a free slicing program, but you might be asking yourself, well, what is a slicing program? Well, it takes the model and creates instructions for a 3D printer called G-code. G-code tells the printer everything from the type of filament I plan to use to how to attack the print in its parts. In this case, Orca automatically figured out that I'd need to have the parts standing in order to avoid using too many supports. And then I created the G-code to tell it what to do. At that point, all I had to do is press print. Now there's a lot of different filament that you can use to print. In this case, I'm using iron. It is not only metal, but it also is stronger or heavier. And if you want to, you can even weather it because it really rusts. If you're wondering why the front area is tan, well, it's because I ran out of the iron and had to use wood filament for the last part. Unfortunately, iron isn't cheap, between $50 and $70, so this project's already getting a bit expensive. Now I'm using the FlashForge 85X for this project, which is a multi-filament printer, which means I could use other forms of filament just for the supports themselves. Filament that can actually be dissolved afterwards, making it really easy to remove the supports, but I didn't do that. I printed the entire thing in iron to speed up the process, and for that reason, it was really hard to get some of the parts cut out. Enter one of my newest favorite tools. This is the Hand Boost ultrasonic cutter. What makes it ultrasonic? Well, you can't see it, but this knife is vibrating at 40,000 vibrations per second, which makes removing stuff like this really easy. While I like a majority of the model, I don't like the back of it. Chris did tell me that the ship doesn't use any propulsion, so apparently these bulbs are involved in that somehow. So I'll have to think of other ways to make the back area look a little bit more interesting. The fins on this part seem too small and not really well-like, so I went back into Tinkercad, and they have this tool called Extrude Sketch, so we can draw a shape that we can make three-dimensional. I like this a lot better and have ideas on how I can make it look more organic and interesting later. I also added these fin things here to make it look a little bit more alien and organic. So I'm happier with the bottom of the back, but the top also just seems kind of boring. Not a lot going on. I love that we can see inside the front, but I think it would be really great if we had a way to see in the back. I thought it would be really cool to have large windows where we can see in and maybe show some details of living areas, meeting rooms, or restaurants. And then I thought seeing something light up in the back, like an engine or power source, would be pretty cool too. So I designed this area where I could put tubes that then could be lit up. I still like it to look a little bit more interesting, but we can come back to later when we do some of our detailing. Now I haven't talked about lighting yet, and I do want to be able to light this up. But I also need those lights to be able to work in England without having to use any kind of adapter. And so I need it to be USB powered. I also need something that I don't have to program or do a lot with because I don't have enough time to do that right now. So something I can just buy and it works would be great. And then I found these curtain lights, which would give me over 100 LEDs to play with, and also a remote. The problem is I didn't plan this out in advance, and I need the wire to follow the clear dowel to the base, and that means I'll need to fit it between those two sections. So I had to make a cover for that to be hidden. And because I was doing it that way, I'd have to glue the lights into the model before I could paint it, because I thought it would be easier, even though I didn't want to have to cut the wire. But I also don't want the lights to get painted. So that makes sense, right? I mean, I don't know. This is a problem with doing things as you go along. First test doesn't look too bad. I'll fix the light bleed in the painting process, but it definitely looks like enough lights. So what is light bleed? Well, light bleed is anywhere that the light bleeds through that I don't want it to. So showing through the plastic or between cracks, because that all kind of ruins the model. So what can we do to close cracks and also make things look a little bit more smooth? Well, there's a lot of things that we can use. In this case, I used Tamiya putty. I like it the most for this kind of project. It dries fast enough and it's easy to sand. I also went ahead and sanded the rest of the ship. However, I usually do a lot more to try and get rid of the print lines and layers. But in this case, I decided to lean into the lines a little bit in order to be able to use them later on to create details to show that this is a giant ship that's made up of a lot of smaller parts. For the next step, I'm going to paint the entire thing black to keep the light from bleeding through. So I sprayed it inside and outside using a black hammered metal paint. That'll hopefully also give me a little bit of texture. I sanded that down and then sprayed it a hammered metallic color and then sanded that, which was really starting to give me a great pattern on the fins. It looks a lot more whale-like. Now this is just a base paint for later on when I glue the whole thing together and paint it again. So while that's drying, I'm going to start working on the inside, and while it's not perfect, I kind of like some of the errors. Looks like something happened to it, so instead of reprinting, I'll just use it for details. Speaking of details, I even gave it these little hallways that should make it a little bit more realistic from the inside. I'm also going to add some styrene tubing for the piping. Then I'll paint the inside with a gray primer, and then sanded that and sprayed it again. The floor and the landing pad I painted with the hammered metallic to better match the outside, and then sanded that down. I decided I wanted to use a decal for the floors, so I made a large sticker in color. But unfortunately, I was having problems with the prints. I kept on getting these lines and I couldn't get a better print. So I'm hoping that I can cover that up a little bit more when we do the detailing. Then I sprayed the sticker with a sealer to keep it from scratching off and make it a little bit more plastic and less like paper. To do that, I'm spraying it by just kind of misting. I'm kind of misting over it. And then when that kind of creates a safe layer, then I go back and I can more directly spray it. I also made some small decals that I added to my interior and painted some of the areas in this orangish yellow color. I'm loving these interior details, and I'm loving that we can see in the front and the back, but I think it'd be cool to see the details of the floors on the inside. I saw the video of Tested looking at the Wrath of Khan Enterprise section that had these open damaged areas, and I love the idea of having battle damage on this thing to add to our space-worthy junk. So I designed some detailed rooms and levels for the inside, and then used my ultrasonic knife to carve the battle damage the way that I imagined it. I wanted it to look like the hull is being peeled back and exposed, showing some of the supports and structures underneath. I'm really liking the details that we're getting so far, but now it's time for a big piece of movie model making magic, and that is greeblies. What are greeblies? Well, movie model makers use parts from models to get tiny details that help the ship seem more massive. And because I've got kind of a naval thing going on, I went to the store and looked for some naval ships, and I got these, the USS Kitty Hawk and the USS Missouri. You can see inside that we have a lot of really cool details that we can use. And typically, I'd use a sprue cutter for removing those parts, but my knife does it really quick and cleanly. I started out by detailing the inside. I knew that I wanted some cranes, and there's a lot of crane options in this model. I also wanted some machines for moving things around that I ended up making from different parts and then painting and weathering them. Now that I have my little machines and things for maintenance, I wanted to tie them together with cables, but I needed tiny cables. So what I did is I got some wire out of these headphones and just stripped them down until I had these tiny little wires and glued them down. I added some puddles of oil and dust, and it looks pretty great. I also printed out this rounded area for my observation room, as well as a decal for the inside, and that'll give it more of a three-dimensional parallax. I also added some greeblies on the outside, but I want them to make sense and I don't want to go overboard. So I try to keep it as minimal as possible. The ship reportedly doesn't have any defense system, but I wanted to use these parts as sort of escape pods. So I bent the barrels to make them look more like hinges. I also wanted some tiny lights for my greeblies, and to do that, I'm using some tiny fiber optics, and I got a lot of it. Just using one light, I can light up several strands, making lighting this way more economical, and also makes these details look really cool. Because we plan to paint the ship, I'm going to leave the fiber optic strands a bit long so I can cut them off later. I also thought it'd be really cool to use fiber optics for my tail. Now there is a technique that I've used before with larger fiber optics where I use sandpaper or I just score the sides of my fiber optics and it makes them light up on the sides as well. I tried that in this case, and then I tried gluing them into position, but the problem was the super glue appears to harden and break these smaller fibers, and so they stopped lighting and it was a disaster. I tried starting over, but the same thing happened when I tried doing it with resin, so I gave up and I used small styrene tubes instead. And that way only the tubes would be glued and I could still have the tips light up from the back. Then I tried using some window maker and J&B plastic weld to make the ships look a little bit more whale tail like. I also used the plastic weld to form a more whale-like lip. And I do want to make it look more whale-like while also looking machine-like. So I also added these pipes to look like the whale's ventral pleats. And then when I started connecting my fiber optics to the lights, I started to realize what happened to the tail was also happening in other areas as well. They were breaking off or not transmitting light. Uh-oh. Darn it. Which meant that I had to go back and drill out all that fiber optic and then replace it, which was pretty annoying. And then to make things worse, I started noticing that over time the tail lights to my whale tail were dimming and eventually not working. And that's because tiny drops of glue where the tubes met the body resulted in them breaking as well. But because they were glued at that point, I couldn't just pull them out, so I had to go in and drill it out, which I really contemplated at this point not doing. There's points when you're working on projects like this where you have to really consider, is the thing that I am so obsessed about going to destroy the rest of this? It's, again, a little bit ironic that I'm talking about obsession that can ruin your life being related to something shaped like a whale, but there it is. The conundrum of digging into and ruining the back just to hopefully fix it. But I couldn't sleep without doing it. I had to drill giant holes into the tail, pull out all the filament, and then stick in new filament, which was very hard, and then go back and try and cover it up and fix it. But at least now it seems like the lights are starting to work and I can move on. Sort of. It seems like the drape lights have a short in them, and that short seems to be where the two pieces were glued together, and I have my cover. So after all that effort to do it that way, in order to avoid cutting the wire, I'm going to have to cut the wire and solder it later. But at least now I can stick it through the hole, which I did make a little bit bigger so it can fit next to the dowel when I stick it in. Speaking of lights, when I designed that landing bay, I did it without planning on how I was going to light it. So I just drilled into the top in areas where you won't see the source of the light, just that it's there. I also 3D printed these cones to stick the lights into. Next I was going to start painting my little ships, but I noticed that they didn't look right. They're still too big. The scaling is definitely not right, and they need to be at least half that size. I was worried though about printing this because I know that when I printed the first set that those little tiny wings are really small, and I was kind of surprised that they even printed. So So I wasn't so sure that they'd even print it all, but look at that. That is amazing. Look how tiny they are. It's hard to tell on camera, but they're only as big as my thumbnail. Next, I painted them, first with a primer, and then I masked them off and painted them with yellowish orange paint. And then when I glued those inside, I was ready to start gluing together the ship. I finally decided that what the back area was missing was some sort of vegetation. And I wanted to put in a sort of arboretum, like 2 stories of an artificial forest. Now, most of the ship I'm going to add windows at the very end after it's all put together and painted. But because I'm going to be closing this, I'm going to have to put the back windows in now. And I found the best option for this was polypropylene, plastic number 5. Specifically the round tops from Dairy Queen. And they work great. At least until I glued them and then they fogged up like this. I'm really starting to hate cyanoacrylic glue. Cyanoacrylic super glue. But when I don't glue it, it looks great. Now with all the internals in place, all I have to do is glue it closed. And then I have to go back and close up any little gaps. So I used the last of my Tamiya putty and a little bit of JB Weld, sanded it. Now it's time to give it a final paint job. Or is it the final paint job? I mean, after all, it's looking kind of blank at the moment. And let's face it, every ship needs its name on the side. But I know that this world has its own alphabet, and I don't know what that looks like. So I had to email Chris and ask him, just, what would it look like if it did have its name on the side? Which probably raised some suspicions, but he sent me this, which I took into Cricut and cut out this stencil, which I then was able to use to spray the ship one last time. And I think it looks pretty awesome. Much better. So at this point, next week, I'm going to be going to England. And that means I only have a few days left to be able to get it shipped off so it'll be there when we get there. And with all these wires and the shape, probably won't make it on the flight. So I need to get it out in the next couple of days. And I'm still kind of pushing it. Because, in case you forgot, I still have to make the base, and I haven't even designed that yet. And that's kind of a big part of it. Because it's me, of course, I want it to also do some other things, like light up, and also be able to play sounds, like being able to play music and lines from the book. So I needed to design a stand that looked futuristic, but nautical. I also wanted buttons for turning the lights on and off, and for the music and dialogue. To create the buttons, I first created JPEGs of the design I wanted, and then I converted those to SVGs, which I then can import into Tinkercad as a 3D object. And then I can use those to basically cut it out of my button. I printed the sides in wood and the interior and top in iron, so it would be stronger for supporting the ship. I also printed it twice, because the initial walls were a bit too short. I think that the base had to be at least this tall to better support the clear dowels holding up that ship. Again, I don't want to do a ton of programming. I don't have a lot of time to do anything, and so I wanted to keep it simple. And so I bought these little audio modules. I got 2 for $16, and they have a speaker, a battery, and a button. You can upload music or even talk directly into it. Now, I will say that I regret not putting a blank track on there as well, because then if you push the button, at least there would be silence versus having to wait the track out to play. I designed an area for the buttons to rest, and I got this LED strip, which is pretty great. I glued that inside and then covered that with blue lighting gels. But I also needed to diffuse the light, so I used some magnifying sheets and some plastic from a gallon of milk. And they gave it this really nice blue lighting. I then printed and weathered that. I painted the buttons and the plate on the front in black. And then I sanded that and then used silver rub and buff. And they came out really nice. I also made a tag for this case that will hold all the fragile parts like the fins. And the reason for that is because I hadn't mentioned it yet, but early on I glued on the fins, and every time that I went to do something, they would break off. It was just a bad decision. So I drilled them out and reprinted the fins, and that way we can just put it in after it's set up. Speaking of gluing things in, I kept going back and forth about gluing in the landing pad tongue thing. I think it'll actually make it stronger if I do, and it'll also make it easier for me to weather it equally. So now that it's painted, I can trim those fiber optics. Unfortunately, only one of the antennae remained, but I added a dot of red resin at the tip, and it looks pretty cool. Next, I'll be using a blend of Gundam tools and pencils, basically applying details and then brushing them off to make them more subtle. Believe it or not, I'm feeling kind of confident about this at the moment, because once when we're done with that weathering, we're actually going to be a day ahead. I got a whole day that I can still use. And things were going along pretty smoothly until... No! So it was all done, and I was getting up to put things away, and I tripped on what I thought was one of the lights, and it turns out that what my foot was actually caught on was the USB cord from the ship itself, and it whipped it off the table.
I didn't notice anything broken, but now I'm noticing light bleed between these cracks. So something tells me that that's what caused that. I don't see it anywhere else. The bad news was that this got cracked. It must have landed on this, and so it cracked it across. So two areas here, and over here got broke and torn in the sticker area. So I'll have to correct that maybe with some, I don't know, pencils or something. And then on top of that, these areas started separating. So I've gone back one more time and try to fill it.
And also the switch broke for the USB, and so I don't know how I can fix that because it's tied to the section that has the remote receiver in it.
I kind of just want to give up at this point.
So it looks like there's another set of lights I can just get on Amazon, and it'll be here tomorrow morning. And then I could just solder on that part. At this point, I think I'm just going to have to go to bed. Because there's no way I'm going to get it done tonight. And also, so I am homesick today, like authentically really sick. But on the upside, I have more time to work on getting this done because I've got to ship it literally tomorrow, first thing in the morning. And so my problems aren't over. I need to fix these cracks, and I was out of Tamiya putty, but I had this plastic putty, and I thought that that was the same thing, only to find out it's horrible. It takes 36 hours to dry, and you can't sand it. So that ate up a bunch of my time. Then I used JB Weld, but it's not sanding well, and it looks like big weld points. But I have less than a day to get this meld, so I'm going to have to just do my best, pick my battles, and make do. I repainted it and weathered it, and late tonight I painstakingly put in each and every window using Tester's Window Maker. And I thought that would be the last thing I had to do. Only problem was, I forgot that I never designed anything for the back. The back is completely open. I had different plans in my head, but never got to it. So, got into Tinkercad, designed the back, printed it, screwed it on. I'd paint it, but I'm too tired, and so I'm just gonna stick with the way it looks right now, which is kind of funny. It looks like the back of an old radio. I figured I could always make a better back later and just send it to him, but I still had to figure out how to package this. So late night Walmart shopping, I bought a tote and some bubble wrap. And by 3 in the morning, this is the box that I made. And after a few hours of sleep, I shipped it off. Well, nothing I can do now. It's on its way, either way.
Tell me about it, Jeremy.
Well, here's the thing.
Here's the thing.
It made it here. It got here.
In one piece, but look, who would have thought that something wrapped as carefully as this would not have been able to make it? Look at it.
Right.
I mean, it's
perfect, isn't it?
It has. You must have used the
Now the question is,
roll of.
I kind of did actually of gaff tape.
Gaffer tape.
But the question is how long it takes us to get into it and how easy it is to get inside. So we're gonna open this up. We'll put it together for you to check out and see. Really, in person at least, for the first time.
Yeah, I'd love. Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, this I wanted to give you as a holder because, like I said, there's some parts that kind of are breakable, but also some of the assembly parts we're going to need.
This is very nice.
And the
How did you
remotes.
make this then?
That's all 3D
3D printed
in iron, so it's metal.
No, it's metal.
Yeah, so it's magnetic. So
Nice.
yeah, and then it has this is
Sort of rub and buff?
Rub and buff.
Yeah, you got it. Okay, yeah.
Yep. Anyway, okay, go ahead and open it up. You'll see some of the things that are on the inside. Oh yeah, you got 2 remotes.
I've got 2 remotes to go
There
with
you
it.
go. And then these are our standing pieces.
Some paddles.
And then
These
we
are
got, oh yeah, these pieces too.
Nice.
So yeah, this is
What are
all the
those?
stuff we're
What are
going to be
those
using. Oh, you'll see.
We'll find out in a minute.
Yeah, it all goes together. So.
All right. You've got it. You're holding it, are you?
Yep.
Oh, they look amazing. Get it out. Get it out quick. I got it. Wow. Okay. I'm going to put all this stuff on the...
Create some safe spots so I had to put some foam on it.
Whoa, what inspired you to make it though? What inspired you?
Your picture, you sent me your
Right,
render.
and you just thought...
And I was like, that looks like it would be a really big thing and cool. Originally I had planned this was going to be much bigger. But for my printer,
it's big enough. It's
I decided it would
amazing.
be just right.
Okay, so in this box, which we've just looked at, there are some things. These look like paddles.
This box
These look cool.
for the base.
Oh, look at that. Speakers.
Next thing we got to do is we got to put parts together for this, and then we got to attach that. These go on top of here.
Right.
So I was going with the nautical theme. So that's why they got the ropes
nice.
with the little things here.
Being that it's the Orca.
Right, there you go. And then I'm gonna pull off this part.
Oh, look at it.
The back unscrews.
Okay.
And I literally created it last second because I didn't have a door option. So there's some things on this that were sold last second, and that.
But I think that's the benefit.
And
That's
some
the best
fixes
thing
to
about scratch built products is that they're all. You put them together at the last minute, and they're
There
beautiful. This is beautiful.
It's not something you'd have to set up very often. Once when you get it set up,
No, once it's set up, it's going to stay exactly
it's set
there.
up.
Just not going to let anyone touch it.
Yeah. Better. And then this one goes right here.
Are you sure?
What you think?
It looks incredible, by the way.
Okay, so I'm gonna push my on button. Let's see if it turns on. Did it turn on?
Yes.
Okay. And then I'm gonna
look at it!
push it. If you look here in the back, that's its startup sequence. So you can see the.
Yeah. I can see it starting up. That's so
done.
cool.
And then.
Oh, it's amazing! It's amazing.
Wait, here's the next part. So you push this button right here.
Look at that.
And then.
You're not getting my reaction to this. You can hear me.
Yeah, I get
It's amazing.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so cool.
I'll get the details.
That is so cool.
And then, so you push. Oh, so this is the power button actually to the Orca. So I can turn it off, turn it on again.
Nice.
Right?
I love the way the lights twinkle. That's
Yeah.
really, really cool.
So one of them will play music,
Yes.
and the other one has the guy reading your book.
Oh, what?
And so you can play different music things out later on. But yeah, look inside the. If you look inside the mouth of things, you can see. So there's the 3.
Oh, look, you can see him right in there. Yeah.
And then in the very, very back too,
Look at that, the detail in there.
You got like the parallax stuff, all the cranes and things for being able to come down and grab stuff.
That is so cool. The lights in there and everything.
Yep. There's also little hallways, but you can't tell that actually do go back and into the ship and stuff.
That is spectacular.
Little doors and things. That when it dropped, when it fell, it cracked across right here. So that's why there's a crack right now.
You can't see anything. No,
I tried to touch it up.
No, it's amazing. It's amazing what you've done. It's truly, truly gobsmackingly amazing.
All the little
oh, you've got the bit where it's had taken a bit of damage as well.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, so that actually has...
You can see the structure inside it.
So I actually did all the little floors and stuff. There should also be little lights going in there. If you move your head around, you'll be able to see.
That's unreal.
But yeah, there's like high detail inside, and then down here's all the different floors going down.
What?
Yeah.
That's unreal. That's just amazing. I mean, I'm speechless to see it realized.
And then this area back here, before I originally had it where this was all closed, and these were smaller too, but then I thought, man, it'd be really cool if we could see inside the ship, and if it had
trees.
So in the end,
inside,
yeah, it has like plants and trees.
Yeah,
and
because obviously when you're on long trips, you
Grow
don't
your
want
own
to eat.
stuff.
You don't want to eat Orca nutrient the whole
Right.
time. You want to have something like a few fresh vegetables.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah, so-
unbelievable.
Yeah, it's hard to see in this light, but the ends of this
That's
is
actually
lit up. It's all red.
Well, we're going to be seeing it later in the dark, but the Orca logo looks really cool too,
yeah.
and I love what you've done with the actual Orca writing. That's very cool. The quality of it is so cool. To see it in real life, it's breathtaking. I mean, truly breathtaking.
That's good. There's so many errors I can see with it. Like,
You nailed it.
yeah.
But it doesn't stop there, because this also led to us going to England, which is equally amazing and action-packed. We were supposed to get on our connecting flight to go to London, and apparently it was struck by lightning, and there's no sooner flights than a fly out tomorrow night at about 10 p.m. So we're gonna be in Chicago for about 24 hours.
We are not responsible for that.
But you work for American Airlines, right?
If you want, I can send you the email.
We're not even on the plane yet. We got robbed of $450. Hey! There goes, yay! Woo! Wow, look at that. Dane will make it. Oh, man. You here? Oh, yeah. Look at that. Oh. Yeah, it's like Hogwarts.
We're going on the bridge now. Mind the pole.
Oh, fudge! Oh, sorry. Excuse me. Oh. Be sure to check out the links below to learn more about Chris and his book, Advances in the Art of Being, or go to chrisbarnardo.com. In the meantime, like, subscribe, comment below. This has been your Geek Fix.